Hey there, I'm Rita. Welcome to Speaking to Your Spirit. I am here this evening with a friend of mine from Arizona. Her name is Sandye Brown, and the reason that I'm so excited for her to be here is that, ladies and gentlemen, she is my spiritual coach. That's right. I've talked before about the fact that I have a coach, and she and I met at eWomen. Sandye, can you just say hey to me?
Hey, Rita. It's so good to be here.
I'm so glad to have you. So we met at an eWomen event a couple of years ago, so we should probably shout out Sandra and Kim Yancey.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Just to tell them hi.
We're talking about the eWomen Network, which is one of the largest membership associations, I think, in the country.
That's right, that's right. And actually it's global, because
Yes.
we're in Australia and other places. But anyway, we met. And I remember the first time that I saw you, and obviously it was from a distance, but I saw, now I know it was your spirit, but I saw you and I thought, wow, she's a beautiful woman. But I don't know that we talked at all, and I'm talking about the conference. I don't know that we talked at all. We both are in platinum, which means there is another, a smaller conference that Sandra Yancey has, and it was last year in, where were we? In Texas, that I asked you if you would be my coach. And I remember, Sandye, that there was a lot going on in my life. You know, sometimes you can't even really describe what's happening, but there was a lot going on, and I felt like you would be the one who could help me to figure it out. So, do you remember, talk to me, do you remember how I even looked, how I was sounding, you know, when I approached you?
I remember it very well because I was really surprised by your asking for a coach, and you're expressing that you needed a coach, because so many people can benefit from coaching, but they don't ask, and they don't know, and they don't put themselves out there to ask. And one of the things that I was attracted to about you is that, and this is amazing, that you don't, it's like I felt like you didn't need a coach. And oftentimes in coaching, people say, well, you got to work with this person, they really need a coach. I think the people who work best with coaches are not the people who need them, but the ones who are about something.
Yes,
they're up to
good.
something. And so in what I saw in your experience is that you were really up to being your biggest, best self. And you could see that you were holding yourself back. And you said, I'm not doing that. I really want to, be my best self to do what God is calling me to do. And I feel like I'm stuck right now.
Right.
And, I think just being able to identify for ourselves that we can't go alone, can't do it alone, I think it's a huge turning point in our lives. And again, I don't meet a lot of people who really sign up and say, I'm great, but I can be greater, right? Help me out.
Yeah. And so it was, it's interesting because at the time, I didn't feel that I was great. I felt that I was in this hole. And this is why I'm so glad that we're talking, because my experience, I had never been coached before. I know that you have a long-term background, not only in coaching, but coaching other coaches to be better. And so when we got together, we decided that we were going to Zoom, and as we talked, I just remember thinking, I don't know that I need to do this, or I don't know that I need to do that, as you were suggesting. And the thing that's so important is that you just kept pushing. The more resistance you felt on my part, the more you pushed. Why?
Well, here's the thing. What you said to me is, I need help. What happens in coaching sometimes is that people forget that they said they need help, and so then when they get the help, they're like, no, that's not what I had in mind. That's not the kind of help. Oh, I didn't know we were going to go there, and oops, no, not that. Right? So my job is to remember who you are and remember what you want well past the time that you forget.
Right.
So you forgot that you asked for that.
Right.
And so what makes me keep going is you, because you said, I want something different. And we always stop. That's the reason why we can't get our own selves out of our own way, because we always stop. So I expect people to push back some. And so I don't even, in my work, I don't even label what happens as resistance.
Okay.
What I label it as is that you are really looking to, how can I push past this?
Right.
How can I get past this? It might feel like resistance, but to me, it's really like this deepest, I'm almost there. You just got to keep going.
Right.
So my job as a coach is just to keep going, because that's what you asked for.
Right. And so you suggested that I get a book, you know, and I was familiar with the process because I had done it some years earlier. So I said, well, you know, okay, I don't need to buy the book, you know, I'll just go to the library. I couldn't find the book. They didn't have it in the entire county where I was. So then I had to go buy the book. And I'm saying, you know, why am I buying this book? Because she only wants me to read like 8 pages, you know. So that, to me, that's still resistance. I'm still saying, no, I don't know why I have to do this. I did what you asked. And at one point you said, okay, Rita, tell me what you found as we went through that process. And even as I was telling you, you said, well, you're telling me all the good traits about how, you know, about your characteristics. I want to talk about the negative ones. And that's when I started to really look at me in a different way. There was something else that was significant, and that was when you said, there is something that's stopping you from moving forward. And I didn't think that there was. But I trusted you enough, and I think this is important for people to understand. I trusted you enough to accept that. I didn't really think that I had anything that was, you know, that was keeping me behind, but you kept telling me, you just kind of stand in the shadows sometime when you should be out and about, and I felt like I was. But then the more I thought about it, there are times when I'm back, and I couldn't figure that out. So we finished, you know, our sessions. I think we had 7 total. And the first day or two after, or the next day after we finished, was when I got that email. And it was talking about a 2-day retreat where we were going to be talking about our shadow. And I say that I help women I show women how to remove the barrier. You were saying that I was hidden behind something, which was this, I realized it was the shadow. What did you think it was? Did you have any idea before I reveal what the shadow was?
Well, you know, people articulate things in different ways, and I'm not a shadow work person, so I'm going to put it in my framework.
Please.
And that is that often as people, what we want to do is highlight the best parts of ourselves, the best. And we attach ourselves to that. That's identity. We attach ourselves to this pretty picture of how we want to see ourselves, how we want other people to see us, and we forget that we are whole people. And so part of being a whole person means that you get to also look at the things that are in my way as a person and what I want to accomplish, right? So you have to look at yourself in a more holistic way and embrace all parts of ourselves. The challenge we have as people is that we think in terms of dynamics, right? Good and bad. And if you think that the stuff that you like about yourself is good and the stuff that you don't like about yourself is bad, it becomes really hard to embrace it all. And I say, we're just people. And so there are things about us that we like that work, and that there are things about us that we don't like that don't work, but we don't want to pay attention to any of that. And where our biggest power is, our greatest power is in being able to see ourselves from a more, like I said, a more holistic perspective. so that I can accept it all, so that I can embrace it all, so that I can own
Be
myself
me.
and
That's
be
right.
me.
That's
Because
right.
once I know that there are things about myself that, that I want to work on, I can work on those. I can claim that. And it's because it's not a problem. But if I'm not seeing those things about myself, I can't even really be of great service to people because I'm hiding, right? Because I don't want anybody to find out that I
That's
have
right.
these quote, negative characteristics.
Right.
And so, it's important for us to be able to see ourselves in a much fuller way.
So that's the benefit of coaching. Do you believe that everybody should have a coach at some point?
I do
Or
not.
not? Okay.
I do not.
All right.
I believe that we are all in different places in our lives. I've been coaching for 40 years.
Yes.
When I first started coaching, I was like, everybody wants to have a breakthrough, and that's my job, and I'm just going to just slam them through into the other side. And I came to know that that's disrespecting people's personal process. Everyone isn't like ready to have these big breakthroughs. Sometimes they just need to take the next little step. So it's up to me to really allow people to determine for themselves what they're ready for. So the kind of coaching that I am is a depth coach. If you work with me, you're going to go deep, and you have to be ready for that. So, everybody's not going to be ready for that. And some people don't want to, examine themselves as coaching sometimes does, and they don't want to mess up the status quo.
Okay, because they're settling, or they're fearful, or they're hiding. What do you think?
Well, I study human development systems, and I think that I have to trust that people develop in particular ways.
Okay.
And sometimes where we are in our own developmental journey is where we're supposed to be. And so I just have to let people be where they're supposed to be. And I have to honor that if they say, I don't want to be coached, they don't want to be coached.
Right.
Why? Because they can't handle it.
Right.
Sometimes coaching brings things up that people need to have therapy around. And sometimes within ourselves, a person may not know all of this, but they may feel that, no, I can't go there. I can't unload this. I can't uncover this. And so sometimes people are not healthy enough to benefit from coaching.
Yes.
So coaching is just a modality, a support for those who are capable of taking it and running with it and using it. But it isn't the end all and be all. It is not for everyone.
Right, right. So getting back to this workshop or this retreat that I went to, and it was called, What is Your Shadow? What I realized was, as an Army brat, we traveled all around. We went around the country, we went around the world, but we were from Mississippi. And so whether we were coming from the East Coast or the West Coast, we had to drive south. And this was back in the 60s, the 50s and the 60s. Yeah. And so I remember, and this is what came out in the work I did, literally, where it was a 2-day work retreat. I was able to figure it out just by thinking about the fact that my dad would wear his uniform in order to be, because we thought typically they would allow us in to eat. When my mom didn't fit, because she could make sandwiches for 3 days and fried chicken and all of this kind of stuff. So anyway, we stopped at this place, and it was a diner, and it said, all are welcome. And it was open. And so we walked up to the front, and the owner came out, and he said, where y'all going? And my dad said, I want to feed my family. We just want to get lunch. And he said, well, you can't come in here. And my dad said, well, I'm sorry, the sign said all are welcome. He said, well, you see this flag, talking about the Confederate flag. When you see this flag, no N-words are welcome. And I just remember the look on my dad's face. And we had to turn around, and it was so sad. And I have held that all of these years, 50 plus years. I've held that. And as a result, I've had different feelings about white people. You know, how is it that I can be in Germany and have all of these great white friends, and then I come back to the States and I can't eat with, it was just so confusing. So my shadow, I had to come from behind thinking and looking at them differently and understanding how the ignorance or the lack of knowledge, I don't care what you want to call it, I think it's ignorance. And it just opened my eyes that I am just as good. And my thinking that I was not as good is something that I had been holding on to.
Mm-hmm.
And that was pretty profound for me. And that came because it came out because you kept saying, what are you hiding? Why are you hiding? What are you hiding behind? And I think there are a lot of people, and I can only imagine, because I didn't live down south, we just traveled down there, you know, we lived all over. I can only imagine people who lived through that, who are still going through those changes and what it does, particularly to a woman, because my brother was there that day. He's only 2 years younger than I. He doesn't remember it. He never had that same experience at any point. So I think there are just a lot of folks who could use coaching, who could utilize coaching.
There are a lot of folks who could use coaching, but only if they can use it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so again, I think that the people who benefit most from coaching are not necessarily the people who need it, but the people who are up to something and they want to evolve who they are.
That is a
and
really
everyone's
good statement.
Not there.
That's a really good statement. I appreciate you saying that. So you say you've been coaching for 40 years, and I mean, you know, that's a long time. Tell us what you do. Tell us what you do. Who are you looking for? You know, you're a leadership coach. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, what I really do is, let me say it this way. There are so many things so many dynamics that are in the way of us being able to experience and express who we are, who we really are. And so my work as a coach, I mean, I call it different things. I call it leadership coaching. I call it spiritual coaching. I call it, you know, developing coaches. It doesn't matter what it is. What I'm always doing is trying to help people to return, to find who they truly are and to have the courage to live the life they're meant to live.
That's right.
And so that means they have to have the courage to make hard choices. Evolving ourselves as human beings is a lot of work, and it's a solitary journey, because as you begin to develop, one of the things people will see is that they can become more and more isolated from the people that they were with.
Absolutely.
Because you have to be able to let go of, you know, your past sometimes, and the voices of the past and the voices of authority and all those things that shape us into a box. You have to let go of some of those in order to really blossom into who you are. So that takes a lot of courage, and we generally can't do it for ourselves by ourselves. It happens sometimes when life, you know, knocks us off center. People start to ask the question, who am I? But I think that the transformational journey starts with the fundamental question of who am I? You know, and really having people really question that themselves and start to look differently at who they are and what they are about in life. So essentially, I work with all kinds of people in all kinds of places, different levels, different races. I work with anyone who's ready to say, I am an evolving person, and I would want to work with somebody who's going to help me accelerate my journey to a more fulfilling and effective life.
Right. So how do you stay balanced? I don't know if you've had a coach. You talk to me about how you continue to evolve. How do you take care of you?
I think, this is what coaching schools will tell you, to be a good coach, you have to have coaches.
Right.
So I'm in a stage in life where everyone in my life is a coach. One of the things I do, I often forget who I am, you know, or I get discouraged. Not often, but from time to time I get discouraged, and my friends will say, yeah, you're starting to sound, you know, you sound a little off base, or yeah, but you forgot about this about yourself. I think one of the secrets to success is that we are surrounded by people who I say we're in empowered relationships where we're with and surrounded by people who can return us back to a sense of who we really are when we lose sight of ourselves. So one of the things I have is I have a whole network of people around me, and I have a coach who I speak with on a regular basis just to stay centered and focused. But I'm on a journey of evolution, seriously, and so I am always taking some kind of program, some kind of class, some kind of something, both for myself and so that I can be of greater service to the people that I work with. Because as a coach, you can't coach what you can't grow into or haven't grown into. You just can't.
Yeah.
So I want to be of maximum service to the people that I work with. And to do that, I have to keep growing myself.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I am grateful to you because you flew in last night, and I blocked off today for us to do some touring. And you said what? Yeah, no.
No, yeah, no.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no. Let's not do that.
What would you be doing if I wasn't here?
And that was the question. What would you be doing if you weren't here? And so we had the most amazing day.
It's amazing
today because we created a program, did we not?
Yeah, we did.
Created the beginning of a program, and it was something that I felt like I was going to have to spend all day Saturday before you came. And so that is the beauty of a coach, because like minds, our spirits were there. We had this big whiteboard, and so the vibrations were so high between the two of us. I was at the board first. Next thing I know, I'm sitting back here. You went to the board.
That's true.
And so that's the beauty of having a coach, of having somebody, and not just coaches, but people around you. Because when we're connected, then the energy is so high, and that's where the creativity comes from.
Absolutely. I think it's the power of partnership. And as a strong-minded, strong-willed, independent woman,
you're talking about me? Both.
Yeah. And me, right?
Exactly.
That's one of those areas that I continue to grow in, because I can't even be the amazing, magnificent person that I want to be and deliver the kind of service that I want to serve to people by myself. And so none of us can. If you really have ambitious goals, that's when you need these amazing partnerships, these empowered partnerships. Otherwise, if you're not up to anything, you can do everything by yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. So what's your future looking like? What have you got on the horizon?
Let's see. You and I have done a lot of talking about this, and one of the things we talked about this past couple of days is the power of vision. And what I said to you at the time is that the only vision I have for myself is that I become a much more careful listener of what Spirit is calling me to do and be. And so I always thought I needed to have a vision and like I know exactly where I'm going, but I don't know exactly where I'm going, because all I'm doing right now is putting one foot in front of the next, and I'm just listening to what's being asked of me, and I'm doing that next thing. So in that spirit, I am creating another coaching program for my colleagues in the city of Milwaukee. And I am doing much more coaching of women around having them find their power and their voice and their place. Because I really do believe that, sorry guys, I really do believe that it's going to be up to women to drive a level of change in humanity.
We're already seeing it. I am so grateful that you are my coach, because when we finished the sessions, you said now we're friends, and you said call you anytime.
Absolutely.
And I feel that. I am just incredibly grateful for you, and even more so that you thought enough to fly here to spend this time. Any final words?
No, I just really want to say you're a gift in my life, and I feel blessed by our friendship. And so thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
You're wonderful, wonderful. Let me just talk real quickly, everybody. Remember my book, hashtag just for today. Hashtag just for today. It's on Amazon. All you have to do is go get it. And today I've chosen to read the one just for today piece, and it's called Ask Yourself If You Are in Healthy Relationships. Look at that. And we've already talked about the importance of being in healthy relationships with males and females, with your children, with everybody. The minute you can feel yourself sinking when you're around people who drain your energy, and you just have to stay away from them. So think about healthy, think about you, think about the conversation that we've had today, because this was one healthy conversation. I am so glad you've been with us. I'm so glad that you have chosen to listen and learn and always love. I'm Rita, and I'm speaking to your spirit.